All right, welcome everyone. My name is Juan Jimenez. I'm here with my colleague Julian Olmos and Sarah Green, and we are from Phoenix House. And today we're going to bring you a different perspective on marijuana, vaping, and what's going on in the industry with the current trends and information that is linked up to our community, to the effects of it that we've seen in personal experience as substance abuse counselors, and a little bit of the research that we've done firsthand with local information. We're located here in Lakeview Terrace, Sylmar area, and we provide various programs here for the community. We have outpatient substance abuse programs for youth ages 12 to 24, and we have intensive outpatient programs too to address those situations. We also have mental health programs aimed at creating relationships with our kids, relationships that maybe have been partially broken, enhance them. We also have programs for prevention towards schools and surrounding areas. Any organization actually we presented to. It doesn't have to be a school. It could be a after school program or something like that. And if they wish to have this information, we could also tailor this information to age appropriate audiences. So all of our information will be at the end also. And here's our phone number also if you guys want to copy it down. And give us a call if you have a question, even the most random question. Give us a call, and we're here to answer the questions and provide the information that's out there. So let's begin. So what is vaping? Vaping it's a fairly new trend in a way that just started maybe a couple years ago for the most part. It's taken off just recently after 2016, 2017. And it was in many various ways sold as an alternative to traditional cigarettes. So the some of the marketing information that we've seen and we found was how it was being sold as a way to stop this habit of smoking. Now, there's been a lot of misinformation how the nicotine levels were not, I guess, fully monitored and published by the FDA. Also, if a couple months ago there was this big thing back in December, November, where they were pulling off a lot of the flavors because of the marketing format that they were using, where yes, the targeted audience was for adults, though the fallback was that a lot of the youth were using it, and majority of their business was coming from youth that had gained access to their products either through illicit means or just the kids outsmarting their parents and taking their wallets and IDs and figuring out that there was online venues and outlets that would deliver the product to them. So flavors were introduced with very catchy names and very catchy scents also. Um, and the targeted audience, like I said, was for adults. But in the end, the kids were the ones that had most access to it. Here's just your typical Juul starter kit that you'll see at most smoke shops or even liquor stores. It looks like a very basic USB drive, like a little flash drive. It's not even like shaped like your traditional cigarette. So even if maybe you saw it on the desk, you might have thought that it was just a flash drive that someone uses to store data. So in the way it's designed, I think it also is a disguise to their product, and not having the transparency where it says Juul electronic cigarette on it. And a little of the deception that I was just talking about, the flavor marketing scheme was one, and the cure to addiction. So it was at one point marketed as an alternative to cigarettes, with the intention that the vapors in it were not harmful. In some forms, because cigarettes, while it's burning, the byproducts of it has more harmful ways in the way they were marketing. But in reality, they added nicotine, and nicotine is, as many of us know through the information that has been provided by our government and our public health organizations is an addicting substance. So if they were trying to build a product that was designed to stop the cessation of smoking, they did add a an ingredient that would keep the individuals coming back. And the failure to warn, the labels were mislabeled in a way where they weren't fully disclosing the damage chemicals in their product. So a lot of the times, individuals were actually falling for that scheme where, hey, it's healthier, it's an alternative, but it wasn't, because the trend is there now, and it's picking up more and more and more. And there is regulations that are passing through for individuals not to be doing this in public because it is considered a harmful substance. This is a small clip that we're going to show, and it ties in with the lawsuits. And how, this is a clip from December, and how the state is actually going. Several states are going after manufacturers that are providing these products. Well, they're going after Juul for the most part. There are other manufacturers of lesser reputation, but Juul will be the main one as the spearhead company that has profited for the most from these products. So we're going to begin the video.
Health Watch. As the vaping health crisis continues to grow, the state of California, along with LA County officials, announced a lawsuit against the vape company Juul. Our Cara Finstrom is in downtown LA with more details now on the suit.
This lawsuit is specifically going after Juul. State and county leaders say that is the biggest e-cigarette maker, and they believe that Juul has enabled a health crisis. They spoke out just a short while ago inside. State and county leaders say they could also go after other e-cigarette makers next. They say right now more than 1 in 4 high school students in the U.S. use e-cigarettes. They also allege Juul not only lured them with ads, but also failed to include required health warnings, knowingly delivered tobacco products to consumers without verifying their age, and kept the personal email of minors who attempted and failed to make a purchase and then tried to market to them again. The lawsuit comes after a 21-month investigation. Here's part of what we heard inside.
Our lawsuit alleges that Juul targeted underage Californians with its marketing and sales practices of its nicotine addictive vaping products. We further allege that Juul failed to warn consumers of their exposure to chemicals linked to cancer, birth defects, and other health harms.
I did ask DA Jackie Lacey about the financial penalties they are seeking. She said $2,500 per violation, and that they're looking at millions of possible violations. So a huge lawsuit here. We did reach out to Juul for their response to all of this, but this is a developing story. Have not yet heard back. Reporting here from downtown, Cara Finstrom for CBSN, Los Angeles.
All right, so this feedback. So this video, just to recap a little bit, it's fairly recent news. This was happening just before COVID-19 hit, and so the states were going after Juul for the most part because of the link of respiratory issues with the youth in regards to wax pens. So we're gonna touch base on a little bit on how the wax pen and the vaping kind of differ in various ways. For the most part, vaping is associated with nicotine and flavorful contents that are added. So these are some of the social myths that we've found commonly working with our students and clientele that we work with, and some of them always ask the questions, is it just water? Is it natural? Because some of them are actually advertised as using natural products for their flavors, for their blueberry flavors and all of those, and is FDA approved. So just to close this quick introduction, this is some of the information that we have found that is really useful. There is actual agencies, organizations that are able to provide further information on the spot. For example, there's this one where you could text a question. to that 55753 number, and they get back to you very promptly. So there is a lot of information out there that stays active and updated almost on a daily basis because this information is being now thoroughly investigated. And as because it's such a new trend, the information is not fully published because there's a lot of them that are still going through trials. There's a lot of investigation still that there is no conclusive information until it's peer reviewed and everyone actually gets together. So for example, on the smoking, it took so many decades for everyone to sit down and figure out that it was actually causing strong correlation to, for example, to respiratory issues. So now everyone is trying to do the same thing and find out what's going on with vaping and wax pens on a faster trend. And due to technology, things do run a little quicker now. We're excited. Go ahead, Julian.
Hey everyone. I'm going to be doing the second half of this presentation. I'm going to be focusing on wax pens, dab pens, and G pens. What are they, and what does it mean when the kids are talking about these different products? So this is basically just what you guys are going to need to know about THC pens. These are all different kinds of THC pens, but they're almost the same thing as a vape pen. So you can imagine that a vape is just the umbrella term for these items. And when you talk specifically about a jewel or a wax pen or a nicotine pen or something, then you're talking specifically about that one item. So a wax pen is not a jewel. A jewel is not like a hookah pen. Like those are all slightly different things, right? So we're going to cover that in this presentation. Can I click or do you have to click? Okay. So what we're going to cover here is the legality. We're going to cover regulations. We're going to cover where do they come from, where all these jewels and vapes and all these things coming from, what's in them, what are some of the dangers, and what they actually look like. Just a few images of the different substances, right? Of the different smoking substances that these kids are getting. So those are just a few of the things that we're going to talk about. If you guys have any questions or anything, feel free to type them up in the chat, and we'll cover them. We'll get to them as soon as I can. So first off, the legality: are these devices legal? Are the vape pens and marijuana and THC pens legal? The answer is yes, sort of. So marijuana is illegal federally, but legal in the state of California. Medicinally, the age of use is 18, and recreationally, the age is 21. So if these pens are from a reputable company, then their products are okay for adult use, but they're definitely not for children. There are several illicit sellers of these products, so even if you do buy them in a store or a shop, they may be selling an illicit product. Generally, the rule of thumb is that if a child was able to purchase a product, then it was probably obtained in an illicit way. There's a huge issue with anyone being able to buy these cartridges and then change the oil and stuff that's in them with whatever they want, basically. Juan, can you click on the next one? So some of the regulations, the problem with it being illegal federally is that the FDA does not regulate what does or does not go into vapes. When I say vapes, for my part of the presentation, I'm specifically talking about THC or marijuana pens. So the FDA does not regulate what does or doesn't go into them, right? However, every legitimate company that produces vapes or THC pens hold themselves to their own standards. When I was researching this presentation, I found that, let me try and mute whoever's talking. I found that that there's a company called CanaSafe that provides testing of these products. However, the FDA doesn't approve of the testing because it's illegal federally. So there's no way that they can approve of testing a product that is illegal. So that's just some of the hurdles that that come with the state legalizing something, but the federal government not legalizing something. And then you can go to the next one, Juan.
And just to elaborate just a little bit on what Julian was talking about, Julian always says something very interesting that makes complete sense. And it's a thoughtful way to think out of the box where if the wax pen is in the hands of a individual that's a minor, most of the times it's a wax pen that's illegal, that's been made clandestine, that's been recycled with a jewel and added, with all these harmful chemicals that most of the times you don't even know what it has, right, Julian?
Yeah. Thank you, Juan. So where do these products come from? So there's two main places that they come from. So the first one that we're going to talk about is smoke shops. So most smoke shops sell tobacco and smoking paraphernalia. They also sell empty cartridges, empty vape cartridges, and batteries. So the actual battery for the vapes, for the THC pens, and all that stuff. However, some smoke shops have been known to also sell illicit products like spice and K2, which is synthetic marijuana. So, if these smoke shops sell spice and K2, they're also probably selling an illicit form of wax or dabs, as some of the kids are calling them these days. So that's where a lot of the illicit substances are coming from. Smoke shops that are located in low income neighborhoods have typically trended towards selling illicit substances, and these shops are where almost all of the counterfeit cartridges seem to come from. When I was researching all of this, I saw that there's a company, well, there's a kind called Dank Vapes, and that company does not exist at all. um if there's ever a vape in the hands of a minor that says dank vapes, that is 100% an illicit substance, and there is no telling what anyone could have put in there. um so that's just one of the dangers that I saw while researching this. The other place where these products come from, the slightly more legitimate place that these substances come from, are called dispensaries. So most dispensaries require IDs to enter and typically only sell marijuana and marijuana related products and paraphernalia. Most products sold here are self-regulated by the marijuana community. However, the businesses themselves are state-regulated businesses who ensure they are in accordance with all applicable laws, meaning that they can't be selling like a toxic substance. They have to meet all of the zoning regulations. They can't be within a certain distance from a school, so kids can't walk to them in the morning and then get them and return to class. They meet a lot of different standards, because they are legitimate state-run state. They meet the criteria of the state, and they are just legitimate businesses. Juan, you can go to the next slide. So the third way that these cartridges, that these vape pens are getting into the hands of the community are illicit means. So what I mean by that is anyone who's willing to Google how to make vapes and wax pens can make them. It's not a difficult process. There are also several ordering sites that can bring you these products from a dispensary without having to leave your home, like the Facebook Marketplace or even eBay, or anywhere, any ordering site you can get it. OfferUp. Um, there's also a lot of apps that you can download, like Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat, and just with the right hashtags, with the right searches, you can find someone who's willing to deliver these products to your home. So there's also one that I know of that is a slightly more legitimate one. Um, and basically, for that service, it's just you just need your email and a picture of your ID, and then you can get products like straight from a dispensary delivered to your home. That sounds fine for adults. However, if a child can find an ID and then make a fake email account, they can also get these products to deliver to their home. So even though ideally for adults, like, this would be fine, there's also a massive like uh like blind areas that come with all these sites and apps and stuff. Um, so yeah, there's hundreds of ways to have these products delivered to your door. One of the most popular one that are being used today are through social media. So this is just a quick image of what some of these look like. This is not all of them. They come in hundreds of shapes and hundreds of sizes and hundreds of varieties. Some of them look exactly like USB drives. Some of them look like, some of them are literally pens that you can click and write with. So these are just a few of the images that they look like. What's in them? Ideally, there should only be marijuana or THC in these products. If there was, then these products would still be incredibly detrimental for our youth, because these products can be made by anyone. There could be any number of substances in these cartridges. Anything from methamphetamine to opioids to fentanyl can be any type of illicit cartridge. Um, Juan always tells a story about how there was a kid who swore like up and down that he only smoked wax pens or vape pens, and he ended up testing positive for meth and opioids and several other substances because anyone can put any substance in these cartridges. It's incredibly dangerous for all these things. Juan, you could click on the next one. So another another bit of the what's most dangerous. Sorry, I'm moving the chat box back and forth. Is myclobutanil. So this is a pesticide. When heat is applied to this pesticide, it becomes hydrogen cyanide. The process by which wax is actually made, basically the crystals in the marijuana plant get focused down into a wax substance, right? So anything that was in the marijuana is also going to be in that substance in a much more concentrated level. One of those things is myclobutanil, and that's a pesticide, and it's really dangerous. Cyanide is a poison. Don't take cyanide. Another one of the things that is an additive in this is vitamin E oil. So as a topical solution, there's no problem. However, once this oil enters your lungs, it's going to become incredibly hard for your body to remove it from your air sacs, because your body is made to get rid of gases like smoke or air or whatever gas, but it's not actually designed to get rid of oils or water. So especially the oil, it can get trapped in the small air sacs of your lungs. That becomes a site that is more prone to infection, and that's actually what a lot of people were dying from a few months ago, is vitamin E oil poisoning in their lungs. Other illicit substances, like we talked about before, anything from meth to opioids to cocaine to anything that can be put in an oil can be put in these wax pens. Also for the youth, THC is a cell growth inhibitor. So because THC inhibits cell growth, youth and adolescents are particularly vulnerable because their frontal lobe is still developing. So your frontal lobe is the emotional processing center of your brain, and THC will slow this growth down. During our time in residential treatment, we met just hundreds of kids who were 16, 17, and 18, but they would act like children, like 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. And what happened is that that's the age that they started using drugs and alcohol and all those substances, and so those substances slowed down their emotional development, and that's why they would act that way. It's because all of those substances were literally affecting the way that their brain was supposed to be growing. It was slowing it down. Juan, could you go to the next slide? Cool. And so this is what some of these substances look like. So just what do these look like? So the first one is a picture of dabbing rigs and dabs. So at the top left, the top leftmost square, that's a rig. It looks a lot like a bong, but it's not a bong. You actually need a propane tank to heat up the wax on the right, and it functions similarly to a bong, but not exactly that. They're not exactly the same. That substance on the right next to it, that's called wax, and that wax is just THC crystals, just like melted down into that substance. So you need really high temperatures for that substance to melt, which is why they use propane. Also for the vape pens, that's what's in them is that wax. Um, the picture right next to that is labeled spice or K2. It's synthetic marijuana. So the picture all the way on the right is actual marijuana, right? And the picture on the left, if you notice, it's just leaves. Um, can we zoom in on it at all? One. It's just a bunch of little broken down leaves, and these are the bags that it comes in. So it could come in anything labeled like Scooby snacks or like I don't know, like Pop Tarts or whatever they want to call it, they can call it. It's not FDA approved. A lot of it is labeled not for human consumption. However, it is all illegal because of the Synthetic Analog Act that Ronald Reagan passed. It's all illegal because it's a synthetic analog to marijuana. And so on the right, we have marijuana, which has several different properties. It has THC and CBD. There are also different strains of marijuana. There are also different types of marijuana. Um, However, for adult use, that's okay. But no child should ever be taking any of these substances. So at the bottom, we have our THC pens. THC is the THC pens are mostly used with the wax itself. So you put the wax in the pen, or you go to a shop, and then the shop sells you the cartridges with the wax already in it. And the THC pens, if they're small pens like the ones that are in that box, they're slightly safer for use. However, there's no telling what substance could be in it.
So
So in the
just to emphasize a little bit what Julian was talking about, just 2 points. The marijuana that's sold today is not the same marijuana that was consumed by, let's say, individuals that was 60 years ago, for example, during the 60s and 70s, where it became popular. The marijuana today has been genetically modified, and the strains are up to 10, 15, sometimes 20 times stronger than those. So even though, yeah, they say that's the natural stuff, it's not. And the potency can vary from all strains. Um,
Mhm.
and then let's also not forget that federally, it's still a controlled substance. And that's why, for example, you can't have uh, laboratories with reputations that are testing for the quality of the marijuana, because they would still be technically committing a crime under the federal law. So of course, there's only a handful of states that are allowing marijuana to be used recreationally, but let's not forget also that it's still a federally controlled substance.
Thanks, Juan. So the next category over to the right in the center column on the bottom, are vape pens. That's the umbrella term for all of these devices. They come with a glass cartridge that can be filled with almost any substance. Most vape pens come with a giant battery or a pretty long, skinny battery like the one on the bottom. Some of the dangers of these is that they have controllable heat, which means that you can turn up and down how much heat is being applied to whatever substance is in the glass, and those have been known to pop and break on people. There are horrible accidents that have happened with the vape pen like exploding in someone's face because now all this hot oil and glass is just exploding in someone's hand and face. So some of the dangers is that if these products are not regulated correctly, not even the device themselves are safe. And then the last product, the last image on the right, are all e-cigarettes. So those e-cigarettes are nicotine only. Um, some of them are reusable, and then some of them are not. Um, Most e-cigarettes, though they all have this basic same design, which is a battery, a deposit, normally glass, to put the substance in, and then the inhaler, the part that you actually like put in your mouth to inhale. So they all have that basic shape, basic design, and the difference is just what goes in them. Um, E-cigarettes are sold in any liquor store. They're sold at 7-Eleven. They're sold everywhere, but they only have nicotine in them. One of the things that I was gonna talk about when Juan was speaking was e-cigarettes were originally designed for harm reduction techniques. So if someone was smoking like a pack of cigarettes a day, all they had to do was switch to e-cigarettes. They got the same amount of nicotine, but they didn't get the same amount of tar or the same amount of danger or elements that were going into their lungs. So as a harm reduction technique, they were pretty helpful. However, when they got into the hands of children, when they got into the hands of people who would have never started smoking, but then heard that there was a safer way to smoke. When all those people started getting these e-cigarettes, that's when the giant problem arose. Is from those substances, from those people.
All right, so we're going to touch a little bit on edibles. Um, Edibles being a way of consuming marijuana through food. Um, Marijuana and edibles has a really different reaction in the user. So there's not like one cookie cut version that this applies to everyone. And that's because a lot of people, for the most part, um, want the effect, especially if they've been using before, they want the effect instantly. The problem is when you eat something, it has to be processed and absorbed by our digestive system, then picked up by the body. So it happens, especially in first time users, that they have really bad kind of trips that they call the slang word, where they start hallucinating or psychotic events and such, where the marijuana that they took was multiplied because of the factor one, when you cook it, it changes. Two, because the individual thought that he was going to get a really quick high and forgot that our digestive system runs a little bit slow and it's different each person. So some people would just keep eating, waiting for that moment to come in effect, and it comes as a wave when everything just centralizes and your body absorbs it. So the way it's cataloged is really different. So sometimes it could take up to 4 hours to produce the effect, and by then the individual has consumed so much that, again, it's going to come like a wave. And it could be disguised in foods like cookies. It's also disguised in wrappers, like your typical chocolate bars. If you notice most of the pictures, if you're not really paying attention, that crunch bag looks like your traditional crunch chocolate bar. And it's sold in a way to appeal to the younger generation that consumes a lot of those foods, where they're like, oh, okay, so if it has a label, then, maybe they are affiliated with the company. So it does have a psychological effect on the user. And it could also be disguised in candy, the marijuana component of it.
Um,
CBD, go ahead, Julie.
Also, echo. Sorry. Also, when THC is eaten by a person, it goes down to their digestive system. It goes through their small intestine. It passes through to the blood. The blood then takes it to the liver. The liver then breaks down that substance into what's called delta 9 THC and hydroxy THC, 11 hydroxy THC. And those are more psychoactive substances than THC on their own. They also last much longer because they have to be completely processed and completely metabolized into carboxy THC. And so that's the reason why it can take hours and hours of someone being high once they've taken these edibles. It's because the THC itself is not what is getting them high. It's the delta 9 THC and the hydroxy THC, which are more psychoactive. Also, because the levels are not regulated in any way, um, there's no real telling like what is in them or how long they're going to last, and everyone everyone has different metabolisms, and so if you have a faster metabolism or a slower metabolism, that also determines how long these substances are going to be affecting you.
All right, so we're going to continue and touch base on CBD and THC. CBD found on the medicinal side of marijuana is used for medicinal purposes. It doesn't contain the THC psychoactive properties, but the data between, if you take CBD, you're not going to test uh, for marijuana. It's still kind of the borders kind of blend. Some studies say no, and some studies say yes. So there's still this information because these products are still really new to the market. One, and number two, you having labs that don't want to put their name on controlled substances creates a blurry effect between if you do use CBD, are you using marijuana or not?
Mm-hmm.
Right, Julie?
Yeah. So CBD is known to be like an anti-inflammatory agent. However, again, um, the labs that create these substances are not perfect labs. Like if I wanted to create some kind of CBD, like Julian's CBD oil or something, then I can try to make that at home. However, I'm not a scientist and I'm not an accredited university. So I don't have the proper equipment to actually separate the CBD from the THC. Some companies can get it very low, so that there's almost no psychoactive substance in the THC anymore, in the CBD anymore. Um, However, the consumer would need to make that judgment of whether or not they're willing to risk that, especially in the recovering community. That's a risk that personally I don't think should be taken at this time. And even though it's advertised as healing and as anti-inflammatory and all that stuff, I'm not sure if those claims can be made. I'm not sure if those claims can be backed up, and I'm not sure if those claims have been tested by anyone who's not working at that place. So things can be certified as organic. However, that does not mean that those things are certified as working or as probable. Um,
And the organic part comes when it says like USD organic, it just means that they didn't use any pesticides in the production of the actual
mhm.
organic plant. So they use organic material. So it doesn't really test to see if, for example, the seed was is a genetically modified organism or not. So it's a really thin and blurry line there when it comes to
Yeah.
that stamp, the USD organic.
Yeah, especially because how we were talking about earlier, when we mentioned that the levels of THC have increased dramatically from like the 60s and 70s until now. I think before THC levels were tested at being around maybe 5 or 6%, if it was an amazing luck to have a super powerful strain of marijuana. And now most marijuana is hovering somewhere between 35 and 45% of THC availability, which is a dramatic difference. I also wanted to cover really quick that there's different strengths of all marijuana. There, just like how there's different strengths of all different kinds of edibles, and most consumers um, who are not like everyday average like pot smokers or something, they don't actually know what is in these substances. So they don't know like, oh, like they could know names of these different strains, but until these strains are tested and until these strains are like federally regulated, there's not really telling what can and can't go into um, these oils or these waxes or even the edibles. There's no telling like what levels of THC can be in these different items.
And let's not forget that a lot of the stuff before it becomes generally accepted, it has to go through a lot of peer-reviewed journals.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of this information still has not been processed due to the fact that it's federally illegal. So we have looked for peer-reviewed journals on these materials, and there's not much information. A lot of people don't want to put their careers on the line, coming out with information on marijuana. So that's still a debatable part. So some of the information and services that we provide, like I was saying in the beginning, outpatient services, we do have substance abuse support groups for the youth ages 12 to 24. We have MAT, which is a medically assisted treatment, and this comes in conjunction with opiate treatment. Opiate use has substantial withdrawals that cause, up to seizures and other medical ailments. And with MAT, the individuals put in a treatment program that's tailored to that individual and its necessities, where medicines administered to help them with the transition of a drug-free life. We also have mental health services for youth 12 to 24. And we just want to say thank you and give us a call if you have any questions. And we're going to stay here a couple minutes just to answer some questions that any of you might have.
You could also type them into the chat box if you don't want to.
Well, we haven't enrolled yet to the school. Well, we live here.
That's fine.
Do
you know where she's going?
You're both
It is the street that where we live at behind Mexican and Isabel. I forgot
Don't
the name.
sweat it, dude.
Some kind of elementary after
Yeah.
that. What's
I'm going to
called?
mute everyone. I think we do have a schedule of more workshops that we have. If you want, you can go ahead and email us or give us a call, and we'll try to add you to our list. Here, let me put my email in the chat, and you can give. Oh. And then you guys will have my email, and you can email me, you can email Sarah Green, you can email Juan Jimenez, and yeah.
We have one more in May. It's going to be for next Wednesday, I believe. I'll go ahead and send it out via email. That's going to be our last presentation for the month of May, and then we're going to be scheduling our presentations for the month of June.
Yeah, so I just put our 3 emails in the group chat, in the chat for everyone. So if you guys want to copy and paste them, if you want to screenshot them, if you want to save them, that's great. If you guys don't have any questions, feel free to log out. We're not keeping you here. And yeah, anything else, let us know. Please call the number for anything. We're here for you guys. Stay safe. I know that sometimes things can be hard out there, but we're here. We're rooting for you guys. Stay positive.
This is Steve from the outpatient program. If you guys have any concerns of your children needing outpatient services, they're available at Phoenix House. So just contact us and let us know, please.
Thanks, Steve.
And again, thank you very much for joining us. Our information was posted there by Julian, our emails, and our phone number is back here in this page. Thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you guys were able to capture one piece of information from this presentation. Thank you and have a nice day.